Chapter 8. Harmony. Ponies had exploded across the land, small nations sprung up across the continents, all developing their own unique cultures and views on the world. There were a few conflicts with the griffins, but after a few years these had been ironed out. Celestia and Luna would spend their time watching the new nations, watching as ponies got together and formed new communities. However, Celestia spent a good amount of time fretting over 3 nations on the largest continent. They had divided themselves, splitting into tribes of unicorns, pegasi, and earth ponies, and spent more time arguing amongst each other than actually building a society. Even Lehman Russ and Magnus didn't argue this much. She growled, pacing back and forth at the base of a mountain close to the Pegasi capital. I swear, they're like children sometimes. Well, you did say you wanted to let them lead themselves, Luna said from her resting place beneath a nearby tree. Yes, but not to shut themselves off like some band of monks. I thought you liked monks. I do, but at least they agreed with each other. She grumbled and continued pacing. Look, if this is working you up like this, why don't you take control? Luna suggested. Because there is still hope for them. Some of them actually care about unity and peace, and from what I've observed they have become a bit more vocal. If only I could get some of them in power, then they could develop more. Why this group, though? What about the others? I mean, the Germains and Napanese respect and admire us for what we've done. They respect and admire an abstract figure that just happens to be us, only they don't know it. Celestia looked at her sister. These ponies are different, they are more connected to us, and they are certainly closer in their interpretations. Is it just because you chose them to settle here? Luna asked. No, it's not. I bet it is. It is not. Celestia stepped forward, but stopped when her hoof touched something soft and cold. She looked down and saw a small patch of snow beneath her, the ice slowly melting beneath the sun. That's odd, it shouldn't start snowing for another 5 weeks. Maybe it's just early this year. Maybe. She bent down and sniffed the snow. Something about it was off. Most of her senses tingled as she examined the snow, and she felt a strange force coming off the particles as they melted. She closed her eyes and opened her soul to the warp, but instead of drifting aimlessly as she usually did, she erected several mental shields before entering. A wave of energy exploded across her vision, casting colors that would be invisible if not incomprehensible to the mortal eye. She shifted again, trying to find the source of the wave. Her hunt was inconclusive until she heard a howling sound, like wind against a cave entrance. Putting up another shield, she approached, ready to pull herself out of the immaterium as quickly as possible. She stopped once the howling reached a crescendo, scanning over the vast expanses of the immaterium. The source spotted her at the same time she spotted it. It rushed towards her, howling and shrieking as it advanced, clawing at her shields. She released a blast of warp energy, knocking her attackers back, before calling her soul back, collapsing to the ground once she was free of the immaterium. Sister, Luna cried, rushing over to Celestia's side. I am fine, Luna. Celestia shook her head and pulled herself back to her hooves. I must say, it's been a long time since anything has attacked me while I was traveling in the warp. What was it? I'm not sure. I've never seen anything like what attacked me, and the energies they gave off were not demonic in nature. She blinked a few times and looked around. Whatever it is, though, it does not have the best interest of Ponykind in mind. How can you be sure? It attacked me. And all I could glean from it was hatred, malice. If it's affecting the materium like this, she jabbed her head towards the patch of snow. Then there's no knowing what kind of damage they could cause. How exactly do you plan to fight them, though? Celestia opened her mouth to speak, but froze. I don't know, honestly. Since they exist in the warp, I can't just hunt them down and attack them here. I've managed to enter the warp and fight there, but that was when I had a conduit to get from one world to the. An idea. We need a conduit. I'm not letting you sacrifice some poor pony just so you can use them to fight these creatures, Luna said, eyes narrowing. No, only those following chaos would stoop that low. There was a pause as Luna thought of a different idea. Well, you said that you saw hatred, right? What if you reversed it and used positive emotions to construct your conduit? That might actually work. But unless you are willing to use yourself as the necessary source for these emotions, then I don't see how that could be achieved. An individual pony doesn't have enough access to the immaterium to generate that level of emotional response. Give me some time to think on this. Luna nodded and turned away. Celestia found a spot near the snow patch and sat down, eyeing the snow for any change. Again she tapped into the immaterium, throwing up as many mental shields as she could before proceeding. The creatures were ignoring her for now, but she reinforced her shields just in case they spotted her again. Silently she drifted, searching for a way to fight this new foe. Her search was fruitless until she saw a small glimmer of something flitting through the warp. Reaching out, she intercepted it and saw that it was a thought from one of the members of the 3 tribes, a Pegasi from the looks of it. "Why do we have to put up with these earth ponies?" the thought said. "They don't even have a stable form of government, and we're trusting these morons with our food? I swear, sometimes it makes me want to go out there." And Celestia dismissed the thought and pulled herself out of the warp. "So, these things attract and thrive on division." She smiled as a plan came to mind. "I think I shall have to remedy that." Private Pansy did not mind sentry duty. In fact, it gave her a chance to sit alone and collect her thoughts, a welcoming distraction from the demands of the Pegasi military. She tugged at her armor a little, trying to close up as many gaps as possible and shield herself from the elements. "Excuse me, may I join you?" Pansy was startled from her thoughts and whipped around, leveling her spear in case whoever had snuck up on her tried to attack. The other pony, a Pegasus mare with a snow-white coat and pink mane, flinched slightly and backed off as Pansy aimed her weapon at her chest. "I'm sorry, I did not mean to sneak up on you like that." "No, it's fine," Pansy said, lowering her spear. "I thought you might be some pony else. You can join me if you want to." "Are you sure? I mean, you are a member of a military unit, and they do have rules against fraternizing with others." "I know. It's just that I spend a lot of time around military types, and I don't really get a chance to talk with civilians, and you seem nice, so if you want to sit with me, you can." "Thank you." The mare sat down against a tree while Pansy returned her spear to its resting place. "What's your name, if you don't mind me asking?" Pansy." "Nice to meet you, Miss Pansy. You may call me Sunbeam." "Oh." There was silence before Sunbeam spoke again. "You seem nervous." "I do?" Pansy's wings flared with nervousness. "I'm sorry, it's just that every pony is panicking about the weather and all the other ponies think it's our fault." "Is it? Oh no. Wait, why are you asking me this? I mean, I don't want to be rude, but you are a Pegasus too, so you should know everything that's going on." "I've been traveling, visiting other nations to try and learn from them," the mare explained. "I told myself that I was doing it for the betterment of all ponies everywhere, but now I'm not sure that can happen." "Well, you could always talk to some ponies and see if you could teach them. My father could help, but he's always so busy I'm not sure how well it would go over." "Have faith. Your father is a leader, and a good leader should be open to ideas from his subjects." "Well, he's a bit stubborn, and doesn't like change all that much. He listens to me, sometimes, but most times I feel like he ignores me." "Then you need to make yourself more apparent. Be assertive, but not too pushy." Pansy shuffled around, but did not want to seem like she was panicking. Are you sure that would work? I mean, I'm just a private and all." "Yes, but you are also his daughter, and thus your words carry much more weight than you think. I should know, from my experiences with my sons." Aye. Really? You have sons?" This caught Pansy off guard. Sunbeam did not seem to be that much older than her, but if she was old enough to have sons. "Had is a better term. We had a falling out of sorts, and I lost contact with most of them." "Oh, I'm so sorry." Pansy got up and crossed over to the other mare, laying a hoof on her back. "It must hurt you a lot, knowing that they're out there on their own and can't see you and meet with you." "Sometimes, but I try not to dwell on it too much." "But it still must hurt sometimes." There was a pause. "Yes, sometimes it does," Sunbeam said finally. "Well, I'm here, and if you need a friend you and I can just find each other and talk. That's good, right?" "Yes. I would like that. I don't really get a chance to talk with other ponies. Maybe I could help you. I know lots of ponies that could be your friends." Pansy gave Sunbeam a small smile, in hope of raising the mare's spirits. "You would do something like that for me? We barely know each other." "Yes, but no pony should go through life without knowing that there is some pony out there that cares for them and wants to help them." The mare smiled and stood, turning to face Pansy. "Pansy, I thank you for this conversation. You have a kind soul, and you care for ponies that are lonely." "Oh, thank you," Pansy said, blushing. "Now, I would like to present you with a gift for your services. Please close your eyes and relax." Are you sure that's a good idea? Trust me. No harm shall come to you. Oh. Pansy closed her eyes, pulling her spear closer to her in case the other pony had lied to her. She felt something tap against her head before her vision was filled with color, small pink butterflies flitting across her eyes. I give you the gift of kindness. You will care for and protect those that are in need. Selfishness and greed are your enemies, and you will follow the goodness of your heart in everything you do. Hold fast to your friends, for they will help you in ways that you cannot yet imagine. What exactly do you mean by when Pansy opened her eyes, Sunbeam was gone, in her place was a small indent in the snow, forming the shape of a rising sun. Celestia skimmed along the surface of the warp, searching through the thoughts of sleeping ponies. Most still harbored feelings of mistrust and hate, and she could almost hear the creatures of the warp howling away. She constructed another barrier and continued on, her essence drifting through the warp and the sea of thoughts. Sister, are you sure you can find what you're looking for this way? Luna asked, her message echoing through the dreamscape. Yes. I would much rather do this face to face, but as unicorns and pegasi are frowned upon amongst the earth ponies, I'll have to substitute. Why not find a Pegasus or unicorn? Balance, Luna, all the tribes must work together. Ah. Forgot about that. Celestia sighed and continued on. Again she found more patches of mistrust, but underneath it all was a small beacon. She brushed aside several thoughts and advanced, putting up another shield in case the creatures decided to attack. The first thing she noticed upon approaching the beacon was the smell. Most thoughts did not have any sort of smell, but this one had a scent of sugar and ground chocolate. Substitutes and artificial flavorings had driven those scents out of her mind for most of her life, so smelling them now was a welcome experience. She approached, still keeping her shields alert, and stepped into the thoughts of this pony. The pony in question was sitting in the middle of a grassy field, a small bowl of chocolate pudding in her hooves. She watched as Celestia approached, completely at ease with the golden-clad alicorn marching into her dreams. Hi. Are you the nice lady my granny was always telling me about? The pony asked, smiling as wide as possible. Because if you are, then that's great, because granny's always saying things that sound nice and you look really nice too. Why, thank you, Celestia said, stopping several feet away from the pony. Oh, my name's Puddinghead, but every pony calls me Putty. The pony introduced herself. Even I call myself Putty, except when I call myself Puddinghead, 'cause ponies are only supposed to have one name most of the time, and Puddinghead and Putty kinda get messed up together. Gods, that's a lot of energy she has, Celestia thought. But what's your name, nice lady? You may call me Celestia. That's what my granny said your name was, Puddinghead gasped. Are you two related? I don't think so. Aw, that's too bad. I think you'd like her. Puddinghead ate a small spoonful of pudding and looked up at Celestia. So, did I do something special? Maybe. I was looking for some pony and I saw the light of your thoughts and came to investigate. My thoughts are pretty light. That's what every pony says. I gathered. But, I saw so much hate and mistrust, and here you are. Eating pudding. Puddinghead shrugged. Well, I don't like being a big mean pants, and pudding is better than arguing, so that's why I'm here. Does that help? I suppose it does. You are a very strange pony, Puddinghead. The earth pony beamed. That's what every pony else says too. You're not related to them, right? Not directly. Is that a problem? No, but it'd be nice to have a shiny lady as a relative. Puddinghead took another bite of her pudding while Celestia sat down. So, do you like showing up in ponies' dreams? I try not to make a habit of it, but right now I don't really have a choice in the matter. Did you do something wrong and now you have to visit ponies in their sleep? Celestia gave a small chuckle and shook her head. No. You see, there are these things that thrive on pain and suffering. That's not very nice. No, it's not. Anyway, I have been searching for the right ponies, ones who do not revel in negative emotions. With these ponies, I will be able to fight back effectively against these creatures and save you all from freezing to death. Can I help? Puddinghead asked. I always like helping ponies. I'm not sure, do you have any of the emotions and qualities that I need? Which ones are those? Loyalty, honesty, laughter, kindness, and generosity. I have already found a pony who is a model of kindness, but the other 4 are still not chosen. Oh. Puddinghead thought for a moment. Well, I cheated on some kind of big test when I was 6, I accidentally pushed Smart Cookie into a mud puddle and didn't apologize when I was 5. I don't think I'm good at any of those. Well, you're thinking a little too narrow. Try and broaden your perception. Oh. There was this one colt who was feeling kind of lonely, so I made him some pudding to cheer him up. But when I was on my way over, a cart full of logs broke down and there were all these logs in the street and it was all wet and snowy, so I stepped on one and I tripped and I fell down and the pudding fell down and I got pudding in my mane. He helped me back up, but I was still covered in pudding and he thought I looked funny covered in pudding and we laughed and started seeing each other a lot. I believe I may have just found another part of the conduit. There, that's more like it. Anything else closer to that incident? Celestia asked. Well, there was another time when I was really little and Granny said I should try to make something. I got all these big boards together and made these weird little arch things, but when I showed my parents and Granny I sneezed and they all fell over on top of me and I got covered in sawdust and couldn't stop sneezing. Then they got covered in sawdust and they started sneezing and we were all sneezing and Granny said we were all crazy and we started laughing and sneezing and stuff. Celestia smiled and nodded. Thank you, Puddinghead, you have shown me what I need. I did? Puddinghead asked, confused. Yes. Now, I want you to close your eyes. This won't hurt, right? I cannot harm you in the dreamscape, and I don't really want to. Now, close your eyes. Puddinghead nodded and closed her eyes, pulling her bowl of pudding closer for comfort. Soon a kaleidoscope of balloons and streamers exploded across her vision, filling her with joy and warmth. I grant you the gift of laughter. You and your descendants will strive to bring joy and happiness to all ponies, no matter the circumstances. With boundless energy you will go through life, and others will follow and be invigorated by your charm. Remember to keep your friends close, and encourage them to find joy in all things. Yay! What do I do now? Puddinghead opened her eyes and looked at Celestia. Go about your life, the time for action has not yet come, but you must be alert for when it does come. Celestia turned to leave, but another thought came to mind. That colt you met. What was his name? Oh, him? Humble Pie. Why do you ask? You too have my blessing in all that you do. I'm sure you will have fine foals. But we've never done anything like before. Puddinghead could finish. Celestia had vanished, leaving behind a mark in the shape of a sun. Oh, bye now. You can come back and talk some more if you want. I'll make more pudding. Platinum could not sleep. She tossed and turned, unable to find a comfortable spot. Finally she gave up and got out of bed, crossing to the corner of the room where she had pitched her crown. Queen. She grumbled, picking the crown up and setting it on a nearby table. My father has barely even settled in his grave and they're already calling me queen. She sighed and sat down, glaring at the crown. They should have waited at least a few days and let everything settle down. There was a knock at the door, causing Platinum to turn. Go away. I don't want to deal with you right now. I'm sorry to intrude, but it is vital that you listen to me. A bell-like voice called from the room. Confused, Platinum opened the door with her magic and saw a snow-white unicorn with a pink mane step in. Realizing that it was not one of her new counselors, she jumped up to her hooves and ran towards the mare. I am so sorry about that. I didn't mean to sound rude, I just thought you were one of my nobles, she said, blushing in embarrassment. That's quite all right, Platinum. I should have approached you at a different time. The mare said before entering Platinum's room. You mean you tried to speak with me before? Not exactly. I was waylaid slightly on my way here and I was hoping to speak with you last week. Platinum's eyes widened in shock. Last week? Dear me, whatever happened? A few run-ins with some more aggressive creatures, but other than a few small injuries I was otherwise unharmed. The mare said, showing Platinum that she was not injured in any way. Still, it must have been a harrowing journey if it was almost a week before she had arrived at the palace. Oh, you poor thing. Here, Platinum grabbed a pillow and placed it on the floor in front of the mare. Just sit down and relax. Forget all about those creatures and just let yourself calm down. You really don't have to, the mare began, but Platinum shushed her. No, I insist. It's the least I can do for guests. Well, thank you for your hospitality. The mare sat down while Platinum grabbed a second pillow. So, why have you come to visit me? Platinum asked. I wish to discuss you, and your future amongst these ponies. Platinum's spirits dropped as the mare spoke. Well. I can see why it would have been better if you'd arrived on time. How so? The mare asked, confused. Well, you see. My father died 2 nights ago. There was silence. I am sorry for your loss, the mare said, hanging her head in respect. If it's any consolation, I know what it's like to lose some pony you love. Thank you. You're the only pony that seems to care. Platinum sat down and sighed. Every pony else is like queen this and supreme ruler that. No pony ever asked me how I would feel. They didn't even have a scheduled day for mourning. I take it there's more than just titles and mourning. Yes, I don't want to be a queen, not yet. Platinum looked away. I don't want to have to sit on some stupid throne all day and listen to a bunch of idiotic nobles complain about their wine cellars freezing over. And there they come, forcing this on me when I have barely prepared myself for what's ahead. They have no respect whatsoever. They're afraid, the mare offered. They think that without a ruler then all the wealth and prestige they have gathered will fall into the hooves of those they feel would spoil it. If that were true, why would they trust me? They know I don't like them. They spend their days just sitting in their mansions while thousands of ponies have to sleep outside in the snow. This appeared to catch the mare's attention. I take it you care about those outside a lot? She asked. Of course. Platinum adjusted her position a little, just to feel a bit more comfortable. They are my subjects, after all. I remember once my father told me that I should go out amongst them and get to know them better, so if and when I had to become ruler I'd be ready to help them. And? I spent a year living in a small hut in the farthest town I could find. I admit the first few weeks were rough, but I came to enjoy it. I actually felt like I was contributing something to the community instead of lording over all of them. At least I was doing more for them than the nobles ever did. My father said he did the same when he was my age. There was a pause before the mare spoke. I don't see why you are worried, I think you will be a great queen. But what about Platinum began, but Celestia cut her off. Do not worry, Platinum. Although you may not see it, the ponies you now lead do care about your father and mourn his passing. But now is a time of crisis, and mourning shall have to come later. I have seen that you care for those you lead, and would do anything to ensure their safety, even if it meant giving away everything you held dear. But I don't. You must. You cannot place yourself before your subjects in a manner such as this. You must take your father's place as ruler. But how can I trust you? I barely know you, and here you are saying that I have to take this responsibility. If trust is what you want, the mare stood. Close your eyes, and I shall show you that you can trust me. No, I can't. Please, Platinum. Not for me, but for your subjects. Fine. Platinum closed her eyes. But if you try and kill me, my first act as queen is to order your execution. It shall not come to that. There was a pause before a blinding light filled the room, causing Platinum to close her eyes tighter and turn away. She peeked slightly, and gasped at what stood before her. The simple mare she had seen before was gone. In her place stood a majestic alicorn clad in armor. The armor was gold with the image of a twin-headed eagle etched into the chest plate, and 2 massive pauldrons protected her neck and shoulders. A longsword dangled from a clamp on her flank, and her mane had been transfigured into a swirling mass of pastel colors. I am the creator of all things on this world. I molded life from the dust, and I forged the mountains and rivers from the very rock we stand upon. You may call me Celestia, forger of world, the morning star. Platinum could only stare in shock. When she was but a filly, she had been told stories of a majestic pony clad in gold, one who watched over all Ponykind. And now that mare was standing before her, all Platinum could do was stare in shock. Aye. Platinum collapsed at Celestia's hooves, not looking up from the floor. I am unworthy of your presence, my lady. It is you who should lead these ponies, not me. No, Platinum, Celestia kneeled, bringing her head level with the terrified pony before her. I have chosen you to lead, and I shall grant you a gift so that you may help alleviate this time of crisis. What? I grant you the gift of generosity. Your heart will be open to the populace and you will work to ease their suffering. Selfish ambition will be your enemy, and you will always remember those that do not have enough and strive to give to them and protect them in any way possible. You must hold on to your allies and friends, and remember to support them any way you can. Why yes, my lady. Rise, for you have a nation to run. The light vanished, Celestia disappearing along with it. Platinum blinked for a moment before the door opened and a young maid entered, followed closely by 2 other servants and a guard. Your Majesty. The mare said, pawing at the ground nervously. I heard voices and thought you were in trouble. Is everything all right? Why yes, I'm fine. Hurricane was dreaming. Again. He was stranded on some battlefield, wounded, alone. Again. Pulling his spear up from the snow, he started heading in the direction he believed his troops were, his pace slowed by a bad leg wound. Wind lashed against his body as he walked on, snow blurring his vision and stinging his face. "Commander!" A voice called over the wind. Hurricane ignored it at first, pressing on even as the snow worsened. "Commander!" "Who's there?" He lowered his spear in the direction the voice came from. "Show yourself." "Not yet, Commander. You are wounded," the voice said. Hurricane kept his spear level, just in case the voice turned out to be a threat. "I've noticed. Are you here to point out the obvious?" "No, Commander. But I can help you." "You have a field hospital stashed somewhere in this blizzard?" Hurricane asked, hoping that the voice would grow annoyed with him and leave. "No. But I can help you." "Fine, help me." He lowered his spear slightly. "But what's in it for you? You don't trust me?" "I'm a soldier, we're not known for blindly trusting voices in the snow. Why do you want to help me?" "You are a strong pony, Commander," the voice said, in a tone that sent a chill up his spine. "I admire strength. I will heal you, if you will come with me." "Ah. You're trying to seduce me?" "I am trying to help you. Come with me. I will help you, and we will be together." "Well, I wouldn't mind the company," he said. He had always enjoyed the company of mares. "But I still have an army to command, why don't you help me find the rest of my soldiers and you can come back with me too?" "No." The voice screamed, the force causing Hurricane to back up. "They will take you away from me. I don't want them to take you away from me." "Calm down, they're not that bad." "You say that, but you don't see them the way I do. Come away with me, forget about them, and we'll be happy together." "No." Hurricane raised his spear. "I will not abandon my soldiers. My first duty is to them, all other pleasure and devotion must come after. If you cannot accept that, then I will not go with you." There was silence before the voice spoke again. "Very well." The dream shifted, and Hurricane found himself on a battlefield. Pegasi were locked in combat with various creatures, most of which Hurricane could not identify. Many looked like some kind of ape, but their bodies had been warped and twisted into mockeries of their true forms. Some sported claws and tails, while others were bloated and rotting. They swarmed over the hills, scratching and clawing at their opponents. "I think I was enjoying the seductress more," he muttered. "That Pegasi down there," the voice said, a yellow glow enveloping the indicated soldier. "Why do you hate him?" "Hate him?" Hurricane shook his head in protest. "I don't hate him, I just don't like him very much." "Is that so different?" "Yes. Hate implies that I want him dead and his head mounted on a pike." "Do you?" the voice said, sounding rather eager. "Of course not. I'm a soldier, not some diamond dog raider." He thought he heard the voice mutter something about a sister, but ignored it. "Why do you ask?" "I have my reasons. If you do not like him, why deal with him? Why not remove him and place someone whom you actually care for in his place? He's a pain, but he's a good soldier. Replacing him would be more trouble than it's worth." "That's what you think. But there are many others that would be just as qualified. Perhaps your daughter." "She's only a private," he countered, but the vice seemed unconvinced. "Privates have been known to do great things." "Yes, I know, but that is usually under situations of extreme pressure. I don't want to have to force her into something she wouldn't be able to handle. Then someone else could fill his role. You'd feel much better about the whole situation. Isn't that what you want?" "No. It'd end up hurting me, since whoever I'd replace him with would be some generic yes pony and I'd probably end up doing something stupid. I'd probably end up giving my fellow ponies over to you if I wasn't careful." Another pause before the voice chuckled. "Interesting." The dream shifted once more and Hurricane found himself standing on a mountain. The entire continent was laid out before him, with ponies, griffins and diamond dogs barely visible from this altitude. "Impressive, isn't it?" the voice asked once more. "I suppose. Why are we up here?" he asked, really hoping that this would be over soon. "I just wanted to show you this. And to offer a deal." "Oh joy." Hurricane deadpanned. "Hear me out before you make judgments." "Well, I already have reason to not trust you. First you want me to abandon my soldiers and live with you, and then you want me to stab one of my fellows in the back just because I don't like him. Believe me, you may find this more agreeable. All of this," the voice emphasized the surrounding land, is yours. No, it's not. True, but if you stay with me, then I will give it to you. By stay, you mean? You may still lead your soldiers, but remember who gave you these lands. The voice explained. I don't ask for much, just your service. Wait, that's it? Mercenaries? We're better than a bunch of mercenaries. No, not mercenaries. Then servants, but my answer is still no. A Pegasi does not serve under some weird voice because they get bribed with land and riches. Family and homeland come first, and anything that may violate that bond shall never be accepted. And if you want to draw me in as your own personal attack dog, then we're going to have a couple of issues. There was silence before the voice chuckled again. You'll be perfect. The mountain and landscape faded, and Hurricane found himself in front of a mare dressed in golden armor. Commander Hurricane, you have proven yourself worthy of bearing the gift of loyalty. What? I should apologize, testing you like that was not the brightest idea on my part, but it was the only way I could reach you effectively. Be assured I have no intention of harming you, and I wish to help. With what? Why should I trust you? To answer the first question, your home is under attack. Not from armies or raiders, but from monsters residing within the Immaterium. The what? The realm beyond this one. It's where ponies draw magic from. I want to fight them, but I cannot reach them without your help. That still isn't enough incentive for me to trust you. Then you are perfectly content to let your fellows freeze solid and your land to die in a storm of snow and hatred? Of course not. But you'll have to do more than just threaten me like that. The mayor looked at him and sighed. I could force you to believe me, my power is vast enough and your mind is weaker. Hey! But I won't. I am not that kind of pony, and I won't force you into this if you are unwilling. I suppose I shall have to find another pony to take up the mantle of loyalty. Rest easy. The mare made a slight nod with her head and turned to leave, but something tugging at Hurricane's thoughts caused him to speak again. Just who are you? He asked. The mare stopped and turned. At least grant me that, if you are so powerful, and if you are trying to defeat some otherworldly horror, can you tell me who you are? Do you wish the simple version, or the truth? The mare asked /. You can walk into my dreams and make demands, I want to know who you are. The mare paused before turning fully to face him, rising up in the air as she did so. Very well. Hurricane's vision was obscured with light. As it faded, he saw a creature resembling a hairless ape, dressed in golden armor and armed with a massive sword. Thousands of soldiers marched behind him, strange weapons leveled at an unseen foe. There was a roar as the weapons fired, and soon an enemy presented itself in the same creatures from the second dream. The leader, the one dressed in golden armor, raised its hand and a gout of fire swept across Hurricane's view, monsters and soldiers disappearing behind the inferno. When it died, a lone light hung in space, and a voice deeper than any sound he had heard before echoed through the void. Then, the scene changed. Hurricane saw a mare clad in gold, much like the one he had spoken to earlier, but now she looked more majestic and regal than ever. The sun seemed to flicker with each beat of her wings, and beneath her a world took shape and prospered, ponies and other beings rising up and forging their civilizations as this mare watched on. The dark gods called me the anathema, thousands of others called me the god emperor. I united a galaxy ravaged by strife, and I tore down the old order so that millions would live in peace. I forged this world, crafted ponies in my own image, and created most forms of life to be found. The Napanese call me the Lady of Fire, the Germains call me Suna. I am Celestia, the Morning Star, forger of world and Empress of the Sun. The mare appeared again, her eyes glowing with light as she hovered in front of Hurricane. What was with the ape things? They are called humans. I was their leader for some time before I was sent here and placed into this form. That was an excerpt from my personal memories. There was a pause. So, you were some kind of general? More or less. There was another pause before Hurricane chuckled. Perhaps I could give it a shot. But if you double-cross me in any way, I will not rest until you are dead. It shall not have to come to that. Rest easy, Hurricane, for tomorrow you must put your loyalty to the test. Hurricane awoke, his head throbbing and his meager bedding twisted around his body. He shook the sheets from his body and stretched, yawning as he did so. He tried to remember what he had dreamed about, but all that came up was some vague whisperings about loyalty. Guess the gods do have it out for me, he sighed and pulled himself out of bed. I should go check the perimeter and see how Pansy's doing. Smart Cookie groaned and pulled herself up. She was in a darkened room, with only a small pillow visible in the dark. She blinked a few times before walking towards the pillow, stumbling in the dim light. Is any pony there? She asked, reaching the pillow. Hello, Miss Cookie. Sorry for dragging you away from your studies, I'm sure you'll make a fine lawyer. A bell-like voice said from the dark. Thanks. What is all this? She asked, moving towards the pillow. Just a little test to see if you live up to our standards. Whose standards? Just relax and sit down. Cookie was still nervous about what was going on, but nodded and sat down. Now, tell me about yourself. Well, I was born on a small farm near the city. My dad and mom spent most of their day working, so my older brothers raised me, mostly. There was this other filly, Puddinghead, and she was odd, but I still liked her. She still likes you. Cookie opened her mouth to speak, but the voice interrupted her. Before you ask, I spoke with her before coming here to talk with you. Please continue. I moved to town and started studying law when I was 18. It was nice, even if I did get into a lot of arguments. There was this one colt there, and he was pretty smart. Well, I can't really say what we did, if you don't mind. This is an interview, not a confession. You may keep personal matters such as that to yourself. Thank you. We're getting married in a couple of weeks, just as soon as I graduate. And that's all I can think of. Does that help? A pause. Somewhat. Now, how do you see yourself when compared to other ponies? How do I see myself? Cookie paused, resting her head on one hoof as she thought. Well, to be honest, a lot of ponies, especially the ones I study with, don't like me all that much. Can't say I blame them. I use insults, I scream a lot, and, well, when I get really angry, I start swearing. That is a problem? The voice asked. Of course it is. How can I hold a job in law if I can't keep my tongue in check? No pony would respect me and think I was just some bad-tempered hick. Have you ever tried to find ways to calm yourself? Yes, I have, but they've never seemed to work. Perhaps you should look harder. Now, getting back to the question, you say that you are angry and ill-tempered, and thus a lot of ponies don't like you. Yes. Are there any that do like you? Of course. My family and I still love each other. My fiancé's a good colt, and I help the other ponies in town as much as I can, not just with legal problems. How so? Smart Cookie tried to think of the best words to say. You know, just helping out, harvesting crops if the weather wasn't killing them off, setting up shelters, helping with sick ponies, that sort of thing. Very interesting. Now, my last question, to you, what is the most important thing in life? Cookie thought for a moment, and again her head returned to her hoof. There was silence before she spoke again. Guess it'd probably be community, maybe full-on unity if the tribes ever worked together. My mom always said as long as we have each other, we're okay. I don't really understand what exactly she meant, but it's still stuck with me after all this time. There was a pause before the voice chuckled. Very interesting. Well, Miss Cookie, I have to say that you are well suited for the task I have for you. Thank you, ma'am. What task? I've been going around to various ponies, searching for the right personalities and emotional mixes to aid me in a fight against a terrible foe. Tell me, do you know why the world around you is freezing? There are creatures that thrive on hate and intolerance, and they are killing this land. I can fight them, but I need your help to do so. You know, that is actually one of the less crazy things I've heard in my life. When the voice did not respond, Smart Cookie continued. How can I help? Live your life and spread your honesty, embrace truth and understanding, and allow others to see it as you do. Hold fast to your friends and family, as they will be your greatest supporters. Right. Whoever she was talking to was most likely crazy, but Smart Cookie decided to humor her. After all, there were worse things than leading an honest life. Is that it? That is all. You are free to go. Clover the Clever tugged at her cloak as the wind whipped around her, Smart Cookie, and Private Pansy. She could barely see them, but she knew that the Wendigos were above them, circling and releasing their powers to freeze her, her new friends, and the entire land. They could have defeated them, could have fought back, but Commander Hurricane and Princess Platinum had to start arguing about which side of the room to cast the spell from. Well, if I'm going to die, at least I'm with friends. She gave a sad smile and closed her eyes as ice began to creep up her cloak, leaning into her new friends for comfort and whatever warmth could be drawn from them. Do not lose faith, child. A voice echoed through her thoughts. What? Who's there? I am here to help you. You have the power of your friends behind you, making you strong and keeping you from the corruption of these creatures. Now, release that power and purge your enemy from the world. I've tried, really I have. I'm not strong enough to. That's because you only released a bit of your power. Release your full might, allow your magic to flow through every single aspect of your being. I can help you, and you will emerge victorious. But who are you? How can you be so powerful and not take care of this problem before it actually got to this point? You may call me Celestia if you so wish. Clover's mind shorted out for a few seconds before she could respond. You were the pony who approached Platinum all those years ago. Indeed I was. To answer your second question, I cannot change a pony's thoughts and feelings, and I cannot waltz in and out of the immaterium at my leisure. I need your help to return and fight on their terms. But what about me and my friends? No harm shall come to them, the entire process is quite painless. Just release your magic and I will take care of the rest. Clover focused as hard as she could, ignoring the ice collecting around her neck. Her horn sparked slightly as more power built up, the strain burrowing into her skull and causing her head to ache. Still she concentrated more magic, even as ice froze around her head. Finally, something gave way and the ice around her, Pansy and Cookie shattered. Clover was yanked into the air by an unseen force, her eyes and horn glowing bright with power. A column of fire shot from her horn and engulfed the Wendigos, the beasts roaring in pain and anger as the fire consumed them. Her friends couldn't see them, but they could still hear their death cries. After all her magic burned out, she dropped to the ground, leaving a large heart made of purple fire floating in the air above her. What was that? Pansy asked, rushing to Clover's side. I didn't know unicorns could do that, Cookie said. I didn't either, Clover said as she pulled herself up from the ground. Nothing like this has ever happened before. But I know it couldn't have been just me, it came from all three of us, joined together in friendship. The other two smiled, happy that the three of them had helped to save their new home. Of course, none of them really saw how the Wendigos had died. The Wendigos circle on the edge of the warp, feeding off the streams of hate and mistrust the ponies below give them. Their mere presence chills the world, reaching as far south as Saddle Arabia. Most of the regions are able to withstand the cold, some even repelling it, but the Wendigos are not focusing their attention on border states. The three tribes of the largest continent are a veritable feast of emotions, very tempting to the half-starved Wendigos. They realize too late that these three tribes have a protector. There is a roar that echoes through the warp, one not produced by the Wendigos. They continue on until the leading Wendigo is torn in half, a mighty sword sweeping through its body and casting the two parts aside. Out of the swirling current steps a pony dressed in golden armor, her wings flared and her horn alight with power. She swings her sword around again, aiming it for the nearest Wendigo. You made a grave error when you chose these ponies as your target, Celestia says. Now, you have brought upon your own demise. The Wendigos, heedless of Celestia's warning, let out a roar and surge forward, waves of ice and snow rushing towards the armor-clad pony. Celestia leaps into the air and dives, swinging the sword around in an arc and catching the first Wendigo with a strike to the base of the neck. A second tackles her from the side, ice crusting over the side of her armor and weighing her down. A blast of warp energy throws her attacker off and allows her a moment to recover, swatting away an attack from a third with her sword. Unbeknownst to her, the first Wendigo to fall has reformed, angered by the attack. It circles behind her and prepares to strike, but before it can, two short swords flash out from the immaterium and stab the beast in the side, throwing off its attack and alerting Celestia to its presence. A second alicorn joins the fray, smaller and clad in silver armor. She joins her sister at her side, bringing her swords up to defend from incoming attacks. Don't think I would let you do this alone, sister. Luna says. Celestia smiles before launching a blast at a Wendigo, the creature disappearing in a puff of steam. The others circle as the fallen reform, swooping in to search for weaknesses. Celestia shields Luna from the worst attacks, countering with blasts of warp energy and thrusts from her sword. One Wendigo strays too close, and Celestia tackles the creature before hoisting it up with one hoof. With a snarl she slams her sword into the Wendigo's head, twisting it around several times before ripping the top half of the Wendigo from the rest of its body. Two leap for Luna, and the younger alicorn vanishes in a cloud of blue smoke. The Wendigos search in vain before Luna appears above them, her swords crackling with lightning as they sweep through their targets. She twirls around and stabs another through the chest, tossing it up for Celestia to finish off. As the two sisters regroup, the fallen Wendigos pull themselves back together. Their numbers restored, they rush forward, jagged spears of ice glancing off the heavy armor of Celestia and Luna. These things just don't understand the concept of death, do they? Celestia says as she constructs a shield and deflects an attack from 2 Wendigos. Have you figured out a way to kill them permanently yet? Luna asks before stabbing a Wendigo in the throat and decapitating it with her second sword. Have patience, Luna. I will once there are no ice monsters trying to attack me. Luna kicks out and hits a Wendigo in the chest. Wait. They're creatures of ice. Why didn't I think of that sooner? Luna, I need you to hold them off for a moment. And what was that you said about wanting me to stay safe? I need to concentrate. Hold them off for a moment. Fine. Luna unleashes a warp blast of her own while Celestia focuses, her eyes closing as she pulls her sword in front of her. I am the fire that burns in the heart of every stallion, mare and foal. She says, her sword becoming wreathed in warp flame. I am the morning star, the light in the shadows of the immaterium and beacon to all that wander it. Flame runs down her horn and over her armor, bathing the immaterium with light. I am the anathema, the bane of chaos and butcher of the ruinous powers. I am the god Empress of Ponykind, the most powerful being to have ever lived. Her eyes open, glowing white with energy as flames dance off her armor. And the warp is mine to command. She charges, a flaming avatar of her wrath and power. The first Wendigo she hits is vaporized instantly, its very essence pulled in to empower Celestia as she swings her sword around, severing heads and limbs in her rampage. Luna joins her, twirling her swords and constructing shields to guard from the Wendigo's attacks. The remaining Wendigos try to flee, but Celestia storms forward while Luna uses her own powers to corral them together. Warp flame and lightning tear into the beasts, their screams falling on deaf ears as Celestia and Luna advance. Burn in the fires of absolution, beasts. Celestia growls as the last of the Wendigos disappears. That's not how it happened, Twilight said. Oh? Celestia fluffed her wings again and looked at the filly. And how did it happen? Well, the leader ponies weren't really nice, and they were arguing over who owned the cave they were hiding in. Or something. That's a common misconception created from years of mistranslation and shoddy acting, Celestia sighed. I tried to have the true story told several times but I gave up after ponies kept rejecting the truth. Why? It's easier to grasp the broadest of ideas than the whole truth, I suppose, Celestia sighed again. I've had to deal with similar instances many times when I was ruler of humanity. Most times it was innocent enough, but sometimes they could do terrible things in their ignorance. Oh. So, after that, you came and started leading all the ponies, right? Wrong. Huh? Twilight looked at Celestia in confusion. But then how did you become princess? I allowed the newly formed country of Equestria to govern itself for a few years, a little gift to them after saving them from the Wendigos. However, during my fight, something slipped through. It hid out amongst the ponies for quite some time, and I barely even noticed what it was doing until it was almost too late. I may have destroyed the Wendigos, but they were nothing compared to the reign of discord.